Don't you see there's nowhere to run? Don't you see your faith high? Can't you see the damage you've done? Can't you see the fault line?
Welcome back to More Salt. Today we are fulfilling every white girl's fantasy, and I'm going to be showing you how to make pumpkin spice cinnamon rolls. This is not the store-bought Pillsbury BS that you can buy at your grocery store in the little tubes that pop and scare you to death. We're going to be making everything from scratch today, and it is going to be amazing. So let's get right into the recipe. Obviously for this recipe, you're going to need some pumpkin pie spice, and luckily for you, it's really easy to make it at home. All you need is 3 tablespoons of cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, 1.5 teaspoons of allspice, 1.5 teaspoons of ground cloves, and 2 teaspoons of ground nutmeg. Freshly grated nutmeg is always best, but if you don't have it, it's totally fine. You can use the pre-ground stuff. Whisk it all together and you have yourself some DIY pumpkin pie spice. We're gonna start out by making the dough, which is the most labor-intensive, time-consuming part of this recipe, because we have to let the dough rise and everything like that. It can be a little bit annoying, but I promise it is so worth it in the end. These are so much better than store-bought cinnamon rolls. So you're gonna start by heating up 2 tablespoons of vegan butter, 1/2 cup of almond milk, and 1/2 cup of water on the stove. And you don't want this liquid to be boiling or simmering or anything like that, because we're gonna be mixing it with our yeast. And if the water mixture is too hot, it will deactivate and kill the yeast. And that is not good, because if our yeast is not working properly, then our cinnamon rolls will be flat as shit. They're not gonna be cute. So if you need an exact temperature to go off of, just make sure that the liquid is not above 100 degrees. If it's 100 degrees or less, your yeast will be fine, but basically you want it the temperature of like lukewarm bath water, essentially. Transfer it to a large mixing bowl, let it cool a little bit if it has to, and then you're gonna mix in your yeast. The store makes it really simple and easy and pre-packages the yeast into the correct amount. So all you have to do is get one of those packs and open it up and empty it into the liquid. So once you add in your yeast, you're also gonna add in 1 tablespoon of sugar. Let that sit a little bit so the sugar can dissolve and the yeast can activate. You're gonna let it sit for about 10 minutes. And then you're gonna add in 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of the pumpkin pie spice, a pinch of salt, and 2 tablespoons of pumpkin puree. And you're going to whisk until everything is combined. Then you are going to slowly add in 2.5 to 3 cups of flour. And you're gonna add it in 1/2 cup at a time, stirring it as you go. So once your dough is a little bit too thick to stir with a wooden spoon, you're gonna stop adding in the flour and transfer it to a lightly floured surface and knead it for a couple of minutes. And you don't want to knead the dough too much. If you overwork the gluten in your dough, it's not going to be nice and pillowy. It's going to be a little bit tough. So you're just going to knead it until it forms a nice sticky ball. So once your sticky dough ball is all ready to go, you can transfer it back into the large mixing bowl we were using earlier, adding a little bit of canola oil to the bottom of the bowl so it doesn't stick. Coat the dough with a little bit of oil on top, and then you're gonna cover with a towel or plastic wrap and let it rise for an hour until it's double its original size. You want the dough to rise in a place that isn't gonna be really breezy, someplace that's a little warm, like you can put it in a turned off oven or on top of the fridge or your pantry, someplace like that. So during this hour that your dough is rising, you can get all the rest of your ingredients ready. The filling, the icing, you can toast the pecans to go on top. To make the cinnamon roll filling to a bowl, you're going to add 1/2 cup of pumpkin puree, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1/2 tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice. Mix that all together and then set it aside until your dough is ready to roll out. Roll out. roll out. This recipe for pumpkin spice cinnamon rolls goes amazingly well with a cream cheese frosting. So if you want to make that recipe, I will leave a simple one down below in the description box for you, along with the rest of the recipe that I'm sharing with you. But the one that I am showing in this video is just a normal pumpkin spice glaze. So to make the glaze for these pumpkin spice cinnamon rolls, you are going to need 2 cups of powdered sugar, 1 tablespoon of melted vegan butter, 2 teaspoons of the pumpkin pie spice, and a little bit of almond milk to adjust the consistency. So you're gonna start whisking everything together and then slowly add in about a tablespoon at a time of the almond milk until you reach your desired consistency. After the hour has passed and your dough has risen to double its original size, you can roll it out on a lightly floured surface. And as most of you know, I don't use a rolling pin because who these days has a normal rolling pin? I definitely don't. I use an empty wine bottle, or you could use a full wine bottle. Whatever gets the job done. When you start rolling out the dough, you want to get it as rectangular as possible. This is easier said than done. It's okay if it's not perfect, but the best way to go about rolling it is just to do it back and forwards and left to right. Try not to do like diagonals or anything like that, because that will encourage it to be more of a circular shape. And you want to roll it out to about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch thick. After your dough has been rolled out, you can start spreading on the filling, leaving an inch at the bottom so that when you roll it up, it doesn't slip and slide everywhere. At this point, you can add in some toasted pecans, toasted walnuts, extra brown sugar if you want, maybe some chocolate chips, anything fancy like that if you want to get crazy with it. But I just kept it classy this time with the plain filling. Then you're gonna roll it up as tight as possible. Know that if you roll it up too tight, that the filling will start to ooze out of the side, so don't roll it up that tight. Once it's all rolled up, you can start cutting it. I like to use a serrated knife. I think that works the best, but you can also use a piece of floss or another knife that is really sharp. But make sure if you do use the floss that it's not minty, because that's just not gonna taste right together. Pumpkin and mint. So you're gonna start cutting your cinnamon rolls about 2 to 3 inches in thickness and place them on a greased up baking sheet. I just use melted vegan butter. And when you place them in the baking sheet, you're gonna want to put them about 1 or 2 inches apart, because they will continue to rise and they will spread apart too when you put them in the oven to bake. So after your cinnamon rolls are in the baking dish, you're gonna let them rise for an additional 45 minutes. I know you're probably really sick and tired of waiting for these mofos to rise, but trust me, it'll be worth it in the end. If you want to make this on a Saturday morning or for a Sunday brunch celebration, you can make this overnight. So you can let the dough rise at this stage when they're in the cinnamon roll form for about 45 minutes, and then you can place them in the fridge overnight and then bake them in the morning if you are in a rush and you don't have time to do this all in one day. That is totally possible. Either way works. So if you want to do it all in one day, that's good. If you want to split it up into 2 days, that works too. So after your cinnamon rolls have been rising in the baking dish for about 15 to 20 minutes, you can start preheating your oven to 350 degrees. After the 45 minutes has passed and your cinnamon buns have risen a little bit and expanded, you can place them in the oven at 350 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes until they are fully cooked and a little bit crusty and brown on top. Then just let them sit for about 5 minutes, drizzle the icing on top, and sprinkle with toasted pecans. You will be the talk of the town when you bring this to any party, any get together, any brunch. Oh, people are gonna love you forever. So happy fall, y'all. From me to you, I hope this amazing pumpkin spice recipe will tickle your fancy and will fulfill all of your pumpkin spice dreams. If you like this video, you know what to do. Give it a big old thumbs up. Comment down below and tell me what you think, if you're gonna try this recipe at home. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I post videos every week and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care of yourself, eat good food, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Known you since I was young, basically. Grew together.